come down as we get closer to tryouts, just to know the kids a little bit.
Like I could have someone come and run a one or two things, but our girls, I think it was their second year girls, went to Kyle's practice after our practice on Tuesday.
Yeah,
To
something
the
like that. Yeah,
midget
anything
AAA.
like that. I think that's beneficial for the kids to kind of get used to the coach a little bit, right? And the coach to kind of get used to the kids, because such a two-way street now, right? Kids will play or not play in an organization because they like or don't like the coach.
Yeah, well, that's what happens up until my level. They have to play unless they go to one of these outlaw leagues, and
Right.
then next year they can play because they're going into midget and play wherever they want. So I think that's why he had them out,
Yeah, it makes sense.
for the reason you just said.
How's your weather up there? You guys getting snow?
It's a
Peter, do
Chinook,
you
which
have,
is a warm wind from it's about 40 degrees out right now,
Okay.
but it's windy. Today is windy.
Yeah, you're warmer than me. It'll be below 0 with the wind chill the beginning of next week here. We had that about 7-8 days ago, and we're gonna get another shot of that.
Yeah, we're just been above 0 lately. It's gonna be sunny today, and then it's gonna cool off for a few days, and it's gonna be just below, like 2, 3, 4, 5. So in the 20s Fahrenheit, mid-20s Fahrenheit,
Yeah.
which is perfect for hockey outside.
Yeah, that's what we're getting now too. For the first time in a while, the ponds are freezing pretty well, and I got a reservoir, or not a reservoir, it's a lake now. It was a reservoir. That's freezing pretty well, and they never take the no skating sign down, but I think that's more of a insurance thing. They just don't want to have to deal with anything.
Yeah, well, you gotta make sure it's thick enough. One of the kids I played junior with went through with his new wife, 18 years old, and they both drowned.
Yeah, well, this it's actually a shallow reservoir. It was essentially a low-lying area in a field that years and years ago they dammed up, and actually would get summertime, July, August, because of the heat and the shallowness of the lake, the turbidity would make it so they couldn't pump water out of it.
Yeah.
That wasn't drinkable, so that it wasn't potable. So they ended up selling the area to the town as a recreation area, which has worked out pretty well. Kayak on it, walk across the street and go kayaking, or take your boat out, take the grandkids, go fishing. So it worked out pretty well. But there's spots where you can go out in the middle of it on my kayak and I can touch the bottom with my oar.
Yeah. Well, they've got about 5 of those artificial lakes in Calgary where they bring the water in from the rivers and stuff like that, because we don't have that much. We have no lakes around Calgary.
Yeah. Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see if we sneak over there. I used to sneak over there and get thrown out by the water company when it was a reservoir when we were kids. So
yeah. Yeah, we're gonna.
When you guys have
practice tonight, we play the other Calgary team again on Saturday. Play Shayla's. Is her name Shayla? Play her team.
Tom, how are the affiliates going?
Well, they're okay, but they're not good enough for this league. We had 3 at the last practice. They're okay.
Yeah.
But they're not strong enough. Like there's none of them even that girl scoring all the goals, I don't think she did very much.
So what do you have? Like when you say affiliates, are those other organizations that are directly connected to you with the opportunity to play for your team in the future?
Our affiliates are ones that tried out and didn't make it, and they'll play A hockey instead of the AA, and they're ones in the lower age group, like the Pee-wees, the U13s.
Yeah.
And they'll come and practice with us, and they can play with us too.
Now, does an affiliate refer to an organization or does it refer to an individual? When you
It's
say,
an organization. We have to name them. They have to be named to be able to play.
okay,
So we have an affiliate list of who can, if we get, say we had a big flu go through the team or something like that,
yeah.
and they can practice. So, last time, Tuesday night, 2 defense and 1 forward practice with us.
Is it every kid on that team or just certain kids
No,
on?
just certain kids. Because
Gotcha.
there's three AA teams, so we all have different affiliates.
Okay,
So, yeah, and they're kind of named by our association.
gotcha.
But it's a big jump.
Well, sure.
It's it's just for grade 7th grader to be playing with 9th graders, unless they're big in that, but our affiliates aren't really that big. I maybe if, I don't see them that being that great. It's not like they get the puck and they dazzle people at our practices. They're good, but I don't, they can go. A few have played for us and they've been adequate. And I'm sure they'll play this level next year.
Yeah, there's a big difference between a 7th grader and a grade 9 for sure.
Well, they're even between an 8th grader and a grade 9, a 9th grader. There's a big difference. Like
Yeah.
we have 7 first years on our team, and 3 of them are 5 feet. They're they've got good skills and can really skate in that, but they're still really small.
Yeah.
And a couple of them are really good too, but physically it's a big difference.
For your youngest levels out there with the mites, Adams, right? Adams or mites, the like 6, 7, 8-year-olds. Do they play cross ice or do they play full ice?
They put boards up in the middle of the rink at the red line.
Yeah.
And they have 2 games going on at once.
Okay. Yeah, that's what they do here too. Do they do anything? Because one thing that they do here now is if you're a 2nd-year mite
You
means
got
you're
to say the name because we don't have. I don't know what a mite is.
Mite is it Mite an Adam? 6, 7, 8 years old? Is that
See, our
Adam?
Adams are 9 and 10.
That
Okay,
would be
so-
U9. You'd be talking U9.
So they're just called U9s?
Yeah.
Okay, so that 8-year-old that's gonna be moving up next year, that's playing, we call it cross ice. Here we do the same thing with a divider in the middle.
Yeah.
Do they play full ice at any point to get them ready for when they make the jump to that next year to Adam when they will be playing full ice?
I know, Tom, some associations do that, and the second half of the year, they'll go to full ice hockey. But I'm not sure what's right or what's best.
Because USA Hockey has done that, Wally, here. They've allowed for, it's only the 2nd-year kids, but after January 1st, they can play up to 10 games full ice in an effort to teach them, offsides and some of the other basic things that will help them make the jump.
I got a bunch of birds sitting there waiting for me, so I got to feed them.
Bears? We can't feed the birds where I am because the bears come in and tear down the bird feeders.
Are you on the acreage, Peter?
I'm surrounded by it. I mean, I've got like 3 minutes down the road. I've got about 900. There's 900 acres of open land. Across the street is probably about I'm going to guess around 60 acres of open land. And then I'm living on the property I sold when I sold my farm. I'm living on 1.5 acres of a parcel that was 30 acres. It's built up, and there's some 5 acres here, 5 acres there. I mean, there's bears in the woods behind me. There's bears in the woods across the street.
Peter, could you name some cities and locations for the listeners? Because I don't even know if they realize you're in the United States and That's where your hockey world is?
Yeah,
Where
well,
are you? Like, where are you located? What are you close to that they might recognize?
sure. Well, the state's Connecticut. Our capital is Hartford. I'm about 30 minutes from there. 2 hours from Boston, roughly the same from New York City.
And you've been there all your life in that area, right?
Yep, this is where I grew up in a little town, a little bigger town, a little city. My town now is smaller, about 15 minutes um, south of here.
How has hockey changed since you grew up, seeing it evolve in that area?
It's interesting. The kids overall have more skill. However, there are so many more organizations that overall the hockey has all been watered down. So you've got more kids that are better, but because there's more organizations, they're all spread out all over the place.
I agree that skills are improved. In fact, I'm sort of scratched my head watching the skill level because it's beyond what we did at that age back in our time.
Yeah, I mean, I watch my grandson now, Wally, as a mite, and I harken back to when my son was a mite. And my son played junior hockey. He was fortunate. He played 4 years in the NCAA, and my grandson is way ahead of where he was at the same age.
Yeah.
So, but it's all relative, right? Because when you're in that group, they'll all be that much better. So it's not going to be any easier to move within the ranks, so to speak.
Yeah. Well, my curiosity about this is if they're so much more skilled, why can they not play better? And in terms of team play, like they don't pass the puck, they don't have hockey IQ. It's 1-on-5 hockey. And I don't know if that's the case in your area, but when Tom comes back here, that's what I was going to ask him is those kids are skilled. Like the U13 kids that the GHC is encouraging to come up and practice at U15 level. They're way more skilled than ever. But I don't see the skills being applied in the game in terms of hockey IQ, even on the U15 teams. They're not using each other to the capacity that they should. Is this just a growing phase that you got to have the skills and then you have the confidence, and when you get a certain age you'll learn to use each other?
No, I think here anyway, what I've been able to observe, I think it's a methodology. I think if you go back so many years, everybody was all about, what, the kids, they're not skilled enough. We play Canadian teams, we play European teams. They skate better, they handle the puck better. Everything is about skills. So here we are really emphasizing the skill piece. And for a period of time, honestly, I think we forgot about exactly what you're talking about, teaching the IQ, those other parts that actually make you a hockey player. Because you see it all the time here too. You see kids come in. I see it at the college level when I do my broadcasting. Kid will come in, he'll be in a good spot, and the only thing he's looking to do is try to skate through you, even if you have good defensive position on him. Rarely will they Gretzky, put on the brakes, look for somebody coming late, look to make a play. It is more just trying to beat you one-on-one. And I do think that's a complete product of this age group just really understanding that, hey, you know what, we're not skilled enough. We got to work on our skills. But then coaching wise, we forgot about the application of those skills. That's what I see. I think it's slowly starting to get the piece about being skilled, playing the game right, looking for opportunities, making plays. I think that's slowly coming back. But I think for sure, because the kids are more skilled, They want to use those skills regardless if it's the right situation or not. And that kind of comes down to coaching, I think.
That's a great point, Peter. And there's two sides of it. There's the player who wants to use those skills to their advantage. And then there's the team that you want to use the skills together. And I'm just not sure at what age you really want to promote that or demand that, because Tom is working with the U15 team. I'm watching the 3 teams, and I watch the U18 teams here, and I see direct attacks, but I don't see anything delayed attacks. I don't see cycling and offensive zone play. They don't have sustained possession. And I'm thinking it's just 1-on-5 hockey, and the best players are going to score the goals because they are carrying the puck all the time and they're not learning to use each other. And you keep hoping when they move up to the next level, they'll be able to use each other. But I haven't seen it happen as much as I would like. So
No, I agree with that. I agree with that 100%. In fact, you posted something the other day. I'm just pulling it up here. My phone. You posted something the other day about decision making and areas of focus for coaches.
yeah,
Vision and scanning habits, reading the game, doing the right thing at the right time,
yeah,
right place at the right time. I pass that on to my coaches, making note of if you can teach your players these 4 areas of focus,
yeah,
you'll have done them a service and created better players.
yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Peter, have you ever shared screen before on a call?
No.
Okay, well, I've
CSI.
lost that ability to do it, but the slide you're talking about, Tom and I were at a session held with Hockey Canada on Monday, and the session was all about hockey sense and hockey IQ. So that was one of the slides. It was a great session, and last night, I think because of the session, all the coaches were there. I brought up, the idea. I asked Shayla to talk about her putting colored tape on the helmets, front, back, and sides, splitting them into 2 teams, so they had to keep their heads up when they were playing the games, small area games. And what happened yesterday, Tom, Sheila ran the practice for Mike, the U13 coach, and her first game was a scrimmage with 3 players in each zone from each team and 3 pucks. And you had to pass the puck across the blue line, Tom, which is one of your, in the zone. You got to pass into each zone. And they have to keep their heads up because they weren't looking at jerseys, they were looking at helmet colors. And that was the first time I've seen them move the puck, look around, buy time, because they had to pass to the next zone. And some of the best players, one of them, I'm not sure if she was brought up to your team, Tom, but absolutely the best skater at U13 and a coast-to-coast player like no other. But boy, did she start to look in that 3-on-3, must pass to the next zone drill. So I was amazed at that last night. And Tom, I'm just saying that the skill level of the kids is getting higher and higher and higher. So I'm U13, I'm telling you, they're higher than we had last year. So my thinking is, gee, they should be able to practice and some of them play at U15. But when I watch U15s, Tom,
We've had that girl play with us and she didn't,
Yeah.
she was okay.
Yeah.
That girl has played for us in the games and she did okay, but not much of anything.
well, I'm just saying, when you pick your team and they start to play, at what point will they execute indirect attack, like delays, like cycling, possessing the puck in the low zone? Because Shayla last night said they don't do that at the U15 level yet.
We work it behind the net pretty good, doing
Yeah.
stuff.
Well, do you think they can do more offensively in terms of direct attack and indirect attacks? Like, is it too
Of course
much?
they could. They're only 13, 14 years old.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know?
what about at U18? You coach U18. Did they get to that level of doing it?
Well, I told you that, what's her name came up and said your team passes better than the national team.
Yeah.
They were doing everything.
Yeah. And that's a product of the number of puck touches you get in your practices. Peter, the biggest thing of the U9 hockey and half ice, USA Hockey did the research, is puck touches,
Right.
repetition, skill difference, and
We actually did it
developmental skills. So,
years ago. A friend of mine, he played extensively in Europe, and we did something that we called a European 3-on-3. We ran this summer program, and the kids would come every weekend and they would play. They would play cross ice games, and the touches were really something, but more telling even than the touches of the players was the ability of the goaltenders. The goaltenders, I would count between 65 and 70 shots a game they would get, because the ice was so condensed and was 3-on-3, a little more open space. So the kids were making plays, they were getting touches, and the goaltenders were feeling the pucks. That was part of the issue back in the day when it used to be full ice for the U9s that they used to do. And, here and there, we used to play on an international surface.
yeah.
And you could sit there and have a cup of coffee and a donut waiting for those kids to get out of that zone to come back, because they wouldn't possibly change, right? At that age, you're not going to yell change, and they're not coming. So it was pretty comical to see that. And the other goaltender would be sitting there, like you see the pictures, the videos of the Little League kid having to catch with themselves in the outfield with their own glove because nothing's happening. So it was like that. So the cross ice piece has certainly helped the goaltender's ability to stay involved and face shots too.
Well, it's strange, but I find at higher level practices, there's more small area work going on. At university level, I watched university men practice yesterday at Mount Royal and the women, and there was nothing really done whole ice. It there was a warm up activity that was whole ice and continuous passing and shooting, but they got into forecheck and half ice or 3/4 ice, and the individual skill work in areas. And the Mount Royal coach in particular, I was amazed. There was at least 5 stations where they were working on a specific tactical skill in small numbers. I was
Yeah.
amazed at that.
Yeah, we would do that when I coach. I did that. I want to say probably 85% of my practices were exactly what you're describing. I think that's the only way to get good, unless you're working on your power play the day before a game, that kind of stuff. Yeah, 100%.
Well, they have 5 practices a week.
Yeah, we did too. Like in college, we did the same thing. Like we practiced, Monday through whatever. If we played Friday, that was a game. But
Yeah.
generally, it's 5 a week. Yeah.
Tom, you get 3 practices a week, right?
No, 2.
So it's not enough to work on individual skills like that. So you have to be able
Well,
to work.
I rotate. That's why the way we got stuff organized, the way you, Hanny. I rotate through everything, so we do everything. We can't spend enough time on it, but we do everything.
Yeah.
And that's the model too, that with the U9s team I'm working with in the organization. Same thing, 2 practices a week. And they do, the first night is all stations and skills. And then the second night of the week is warm-ups, and then you kind of split with your team and the coach can work on what they feel they should be working on. Team-wise, team
Yeah,
tact.
well, we rotate through A in our coding system. A is individual skills, so they have the puck on their stick doing stuff. And B is unopposed passing, stuff like that. So we do that. And then C is game situation, things like one-on-one, etc. And then D is games and full and cross ice and all that. And then transition games and shootouts, and then the playing roles. Like we last practice, we did all that, but then we worked on team. We did individual offensive skills, then we did team offensive skills. So we worked on the offensive triangle and the middle drive, while the D were at the other end working on evasive moves at the point and breakout options. So, and tonight it'll be the individual defensive skills, anglings and all and that sort of thing. And we'll do some power play because Jim couldn't be there Tuesday. But we'll do penalty killing, and we have to get good at the diamond because now most teams are moving to an umbrella where they started off with just the overload. And most are moving to the umbrella. We use the 1-3-1. Nobody that we've seen uses that. But, so rotate through that and try to touch on everything. You don't get enough time to do it, but,
How,
at least they know the language you're talking when you talk.
how long is your practice time? How much time do you get?
Tuesday is 75 minutes. Tonight's 90 minutes.
Okay,
I was
yeah.
talking to the girls the other day about deep practice. If you've read the talent code, deep practice, if you really focus on something for 5 minutes, it's better than 1 hour of going through the motions.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
I say we don't get that much practice, so you have to really focus when we're here, to get good at this. So
Yeah, that's great because see, that's one of the issues here is there's one rink that the teams practice out of, they get an hour. And then it's full 60 minutes from the time you step your foot on the ice to when you get off, you get the hour. It's another rink that they take 10 minutes of every hour for the Zamboni time. So the kids only get 50 minutes. So they're only getting an hour and 50 minutes total the entire week for practice.
yeah,
That gets to be a challenge.
that's real common on private rinks. Is that 10
Yeah.
minutes for a flood and 50. I know when I go down the States, it was kind of different for me to see that because we don't do that here.
Yeah, it is. It's just kind of a bit of a money grab because you're charged for the hour. You're not charged for 50 minutes. You're charged for the hour.
Yeah.
So part of your money, you get to watch the Zamboni go around for 10 minutes.
It can be pretty exciting. It was in Guadalajara, Mexico, I'll tell you. It was Formula One Zamboni drive, and the guy would gun it. And I didn't know if he could make the turn without going through the boards. And then he'd slow down suddenly, get around the corner and gun it down the other side.
I saw a guy there was a guy like that, not that far from me years back. And the same thing. I'm like, they're never going to practice because they're going to be fixing the boards. And the same thing, he'd come down, he'd know when to get off the gas, just slide it around and away you'd go. I think he had more fun making the ice than anybody I ever met.
Yeah. I saw them training a girl in Red Deer, and she drove into the boards. She didn't make the turn.
Yeah, that can happen.
So we had to move rinks because the door wouldn't open.
Yeah, there's lots of good Zamboni stories. I ran a practice once with a broken down Zamboni on the ice. Part of the drill was one guy to go wide around it. The other guy would slide the puck underneath the Zamboni, and you have to pick it up on the other side and come around. Giant cone. That was a big cone.
Yeah. I remember when I played in Sioux City, some car dealership, there's a car in the middle of the ice, and they were trying to sell a car. So they had us doing those kind of things around it and videoed it and passing underneath it and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah. At least that was on purpose. This wasn't on purpose. That one was broken.
Tom, I don't know if you remember, but I just wanted to check in Cochrane. They had shared ice time for 30 minutes, and everybody had an hour. They ended up getting their hour and a half, but half of it was half ice, half hour. So you had your team and your half ice. They had their team and their half ice, and then eventually you got whole ice. It seemed to be a way of getting more ice time. And I still see practices where they're only in one end for 30 minutes. And just a matter of utilizing all that space with the numbers, I think that's something we have to get better at. But right now, I've sort of suggested, Tom, that maybe we have a joint practice, add a practice, make it an hour and a half, but make it joint so you overlap.
Well, that's what we did in U13 when I coached that 2 years ago.
Yeah. And they haven't done that this year, but it gives you a little extra ice time. And when you have half ice, I think you got 3 stations. Basically, that's what I've tried to stress with U9 and U11 teams is small area work and using those stations. But everybody wants to get in that whole ice, and all the drills are whole ice and pass here, pass there, deliberate. And the flow, it looks good, and but there's no decision making going on. And the pace of that practice is great, and they play well in games. But boy, that balance between competitive small area practice and game like decision making is absolutely huge in developing the hockey IQ.
Well, we have full ice every time, but we play a lot of small area stuff too. So
Yeah.
It's not one or the other. It's
Yeah.
if you just stick to one. I remember the other U13 team 2 years ago just did that station stuff all the time. They had stations, they had pylons all over and the whole practice because they'd be at one end, we'd be at the other. And, they didn't really do that well because once they played a game, they didn't practice playing the game at all.
Yeah.
We got them later on in the year to start practicing with us and play, one pass in each zone games and stuff like that.
Tom, what's your approach for the last third of the season here?
Well, we made 4 lines we're going to stick with. So that's why we were working on the offensive triangle and not the other practice. So we've seen them all play a lot. So we basically have 4 lines, and the deep pair have been the same all year so far. And other than that, just the same. Just go through things and try to get better at everything.
How are you managing your ice time with power play and PK?
Well, we have 2 power plays, and almost everybody else on the PK except we've got one player that doesn't seem to understand anything. Just skates around the place, so she really can't play the PK. No, isn't doing anything. But other than that, we have everybody plays on one or the other. She trains in the PK. And tonight will be a chance to see if she can catch on. So, you always have those challenges, right?
Yeah.
Because they added a team, so basically the bottom 25% are real fringe players. So
You think they should go back to 2 teams?
I don't know. I mean, we're in second overall out of 13 teams, so
No, but if you're going to have elite hockey, should you only have 1 team?
well, they're only 13, 14. Do you want a whole bunch of kids out of hockey? Like all these little girls that are really good wouldn't have made the team. But they're not going to be little girls all the time.
Yeah.
I posted a picture of Danny Heatley that he gave me. And he wrote on it, Coachy, thanks for everything. And I remember in grade 11, he was about 5'8" or 9, or grade 10. He didn't get drafted in the Bantam draft because his dad's about my height. And they thought, oh, that's how big he'll grow. He wasn't a great skater. He scored a lot. And then in grade 11, he grew 6 or 8 inches in the summer. And the same thing happened with my son. He grew in grade 11 like 6 inches in the summer. It didn't work. Yeah, so, you don't want to drive people out of the game. I think the more they play, the better. It's very hard to win it all when the teams are watered down a bit.
Yeah, but the teams are all watered down. They're equal, and
well, you get a place like Red Deer that's pretty big, and they've been playing together. Those same girls have been playing together since they were little kids, so they have a lot more. They've just been together, so that's an advantage and something like that. Edmonton only has 2 teams, so that they have 2 teams, and then they only have 3 lines. So there's a whole bunch of girls.
Yeah.
There's 1 line in each team that's not playing, and there's a whole other team. So is that better to be able to win? They're not even doing that well, and have 20 girls not playing. So I think it's good the way it is.
You're happy with 4 lines?
Yeah, well, yeah.
What do you have up there, Peter? 3 lines or 4 lines, Peter? What age do they go 4-line hockey?
Here it's probably midget age. So either the midget team, the high school age team, or once you get to high school, and from there on up.
See, most of the leagues here, elite, are U15 and above are 4-line, but they only play 2.
But we played Lethbridge last week. They have 3 lines, and they have two of the top 4 scorers in the league, and they play like 28 minutes in the game each.
So I think you have to look back at, so why did you pick 4 lines to begin with, right? Did you pick 4 lines because those kids could all compete at that level? Did you pick 4 lines because you needed that many kids to financially make the team work? Like, why did you initially select 4 lines?
Well, that's what the number is at this level, is 20 players. They went from 19, which is awful, 17 skaters, it doesn't work for anything,
Right.
to 20, so you can have 4 lines. I don't mind having 4 lines, is way better for practice.
Yeah, it's better for practice, and at the end of the day, that's I don't know. To me, that's like if you're a carpenter and you're having trouble getting something going with your what you're building, it's not level, or if it's not square. There's a reason you've got a square in your toolbox and a level, right? So if you're not using all your tools, you're missing out. And I really think it's the same thing, because with 4 lines, anytime I've ever been in a situation where I've had 4 lines, there's been a solid purpose for those third, fourth line players. They knew what their roles were, and they were expected to be able to execute those roles. So they were part of the success and or failure of the team. And I think that if you're having 4 lines and you're only playing 2, you're missing the boat as far as doing the kids a disservice, development wise, especially if it's at younger levels.
Well, we've got 3 lines that can score, and one, they got to get the identity of taking pride in, not getting scored on and getting the puck out and stuff like that.
Yeah, playing
So
well
that's
defensively.
what we're starting to work on now, because we just got 4 lines.
Yeah, maybe you can grab a kid or 2, if not that whole line, make them part of the penalty killers, right?
Yeah, well, that's the plan.
Yeah,
Like, except, and the challenge is get the one player that needs to learn how to play with some structure and get her to understand what we're doing. And so you always got challenges when you're coaching,
oh yeah,
right?
sure, for sure.
There's some players catch on, some players don't, you know, and, but, so that's our challenge.
Yeah, well, that's part of the fun of coaching. I mean, if you're not up for challenges, you probably shouldn't be a coach of any sport.
Yeah. Well, that particular player can really skate. But, so capable of doing it. Just,
Now, was that someone that was with the other girls, sort of growing up and moving through the program to get to you? Reason I mentioned that is because we were talking earlier about players and their hockey IQ, and that being taught, and more emphasis on skills and then teaching.
well, she's a first year, and she came from the U13 from last year. I don't know that much about her background. I don't, I know her dad played a good level of hockey. But anyways, that's just one of the challenges.
Sure.
If they're all stars, they wouldn't need us.
Well, that's it. That's it. 100%. Be out of a job.
Tom, how many girls on your team are going to make AAA next year, do you think? Have a good chance?
Well, I sent the coaches a little breakdown of who I think can make it next year and who I think that probably would make it in 2 years. It's
Yeah.
a big jump, like boys hockey has minor midget for grade 10s. But girls, they have to play with grade 12s right away. So, we've got a couple of D and a couple of forwards.
Yeah.
That could do it. They're practicing. Some of them are practicing with the AAAs already.
Yeah.
But I haven't seen the AAA, so it's hard to say because I don't know. That deal is exactly where they're playing. I just know when I watch it, I haven't been that impressed when I watch it at slow hockey. But
See, all the girls that are going to go up and try out, they can play power play at your level, right?
yeah.
But at the next level, pretty soon they're going to be designated to a PK role, or maybe no role if they don't play PK. Like, they're good enough now to play the power play, but Peter, I think power play is a disadvantage at U13. At U15, I can see Tom's team, they execute the 1-3-1 and they get goals off it. And I watched Shayla's team play
Just wait a
Tom,
second.
and
I'm gonna switch here.
they got some pretty good chances on the power play. So I can see the shape and the passing with the best players out there on the power play doing it. Not every player, but I guess that's a dilemma. Tom, kids have to move up, earn their role, and prove their worth. And to develop them, they got to feel valued and have a role. So that's what coaching's all about: is getting them good enough to play that role. But I know that there are definitely 2 or 3 players in the U15 league that are going to be sought after by the AAA coaches next year. But they may not play the power play, or the first power play at least, depending on the coach. I know
Right.
one of the coaches,
And
well,
that's
actually, both our AAA coaches play everybody on the power play. They don't make that decision sooner than later. They'll go the whole year, but they don't necessarily create that role. And I think that's the dilemma, Peter, and with our World Junior team, everybody there are star players, and all of a sudden they have to play roles. And they have to have 40-second shifts, and they play 2 minutes all their life.
well, and again, that comes down to what? That comes down to coaching. That comes down to the players' ability to buy in and understand that their roles constantly change because I mean, anyone, especially with the World Juniors in Canada, I mean, they could have busloads of NHL players who were stars and juniors who, when they finally did get to the NHL, maybe they were third, fourth line guys. Maybe they were power play guys that never saw a power play again, but understood that they had a role and that's what it was about. I think it's more about an ego and the ability to be a bit humble and realize that if whatever we do is for the good of the team and it's not your role as a player to decide what is for the good of the team, that's what a coach and a coaching staff are for. If you can get yourself to buy into that, then you can have a measure of success. If not, you won't be happy as a player. The coach will never be happy with you, and the whole thing will just be an experience, poor experience that could have been probably a good experience.
Tom, does ego play a part in your coaching? Are there problems with egos and players accepting their roles? Your speaker's off, Tom.
I think everybody has an opinion where they belong. So you have to explain them, you have to meet with them and talk to them about things. But it's not a problem with our team. We were very careful when we picked the team about who we chose. And we had a little bit of knowledge because coaching them earlier, and also Emily coached a whole bunch of them in the spring. So we trying to avoid people that were going to be difficult, almost uncoachable. So.
And I think that's such a great point, and I think that's overlooked as we, are on this expressway to how many points can you get? How skilled are you? I think there's that point that maybe isn't taught enough, but if you're not considered coachable at a certain level, there's going to be somebody just as good as you who is coachable, or maybe it's not quite as good as you, but because they are coachable, the coach is excited about that player and improving them. So you may get skipped over. I mean, I think we've all seen that.
Parents should also be careful.
Yes.
Because a lot of parents screw their kids up, their chance of making teams because the coach the next year doesn't want to deal with them because they'll have a reputation of, you know, of doing things that you don't want to live with for 7 months of the year. You know, I saw that happen this year. And some of my girls from last year who are very good didn't get picked up by Calgary teams, so they're playing at sports schools, and they're better than players that did end up on our AAA team because they're you know, trouble with the parents.
Yeah, I mean, I remember years back sitting at a tryout where a friend of mine had come down from a prep school to kind of watch the kids and see them, and liked a particular kid, but there was also a parent in the stands who was just couldn't keep their mouth shut. And he asked me, so whose father is that? And I told him who it was, and he immediately just put a line through the kid on his on the roster. Like, I'm not going to work, like you said, I'm not going to waste my time dealing with that.
Well, you know, I told the story before about kid I work with playing pro. They wouldn't take him in Salzburg because the American coach owned his buddies around the Boston area that he played for, and said the dad calls us all the time what line he should be playing with and blah, blah, blah. And this kid was a good player, 6'2", 215, all the skills in the world. And they wouldn't take him in Salzburg because of that. And then I helped him get to Finland. His dad's calling the coach in Finland where he should be playing. And the kid, like, he got kind of blackballed from Europe because it spread to everywhere, right?
Yeah.
And I talked to his dad. I said, "What are you doing?" You know, because his dad had played some hockey, and the kid kind of screwed up his hockey career.
Peter and Tom, I don't know if you went through this, but I think I did. When I used to pick players, I used to think, "Oh, I can help them. I can change them." And sometimes you have no choice. You only got to pick what you've got, but I'd find some coaches take on the challenge of problem kids, and it's sort of like a teacher. You want all these students to begin with, and you're not going to get them, but you sure like to have kids with A attitudes that can learn from you. But there are some kids who haven't been raised the same way in terms of work ethic, respect, responsibility. And some coaches think they can make that difference. You ever gone through that, making that mistake, either of you?
I've gone through that, but I'm not going to call it a mistake because I think if you handle that kid properly, most of the time you can get that kid on board. Not all the time. It's been my experience. Most of the time you can get that kid on board. Because very often, like Tom, I don't know what the relationship was that individual had, like with his dad that you're talking about, that boy, but I gotta hope or think at some point he asked his father to just stop. And
I don't know if he did,
because we've had that discussion where this is like when I coach at the midget level, talking to kids. This is your world right here. It's not your parents' world. They pay for it. I get that. And you'd be very grateful that they do that. But this is your world. So this is your opportunity to start to grow and develop as a person, to be able to advocate for yourself. And that method has overall been very effective. Not effective all the time, but certainly very effective. And it has been successful in many situations for me.
Yeah, well, this particular kid, I couldn't ask to work with anybody that was more cooperative. I mean, I had him carrying 5 pucks and 5 different things, kind of balls, puck, everything at the same time, doing stuff, really weird stuff that ideas I picked up from Swedish, in Sweden, and all sorts of things. And he did everything. Gaston came and worked on his skating with him. You couldn't ask for a better guy. And I know Morris Lukowicz who worked on him with him too, and he said, "Great kid." So as far as being himself, but I don't know if he ever asked his dad to stop. But it kind of screwed his career. Like he ended up going to that real top business school in Chicago. It was a what's it called? Anyways, he
Is
does
that
really
Wharton
well.
School of Business?
Who?
Was it Wharton School of Business?
I think so.
Yeah.
I know I wrote a bunch of letters of reference for him for different things, but he's doing all right in life. But his hockey career kind of got ruined by his dad.
Yeah, I mean, and I would, again, even like I say, this was a lot at the midget level. I would tell the guys that it's okay you're not disrespecting your parent when you're saying, this is my life, and I know you care about me, I know you love me, and you're trying to help, but what you are doing is a detriment to me. It's hurting my chances. It's hurting my ability to play well, and you want to see me play well. If you want to see me play well, I need you to support me and stop talking to the coaches. I can do that. Like, it's hard, but
I didn't know his dad was doing this till after I'd worked with him.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Because I'd worked with him before I went to Salzburg, and we needed a guy like him. And I threw his name out there, and the American coach checked with his coaches. And, like I said, then I helped him get to Finland. And
how old was he at the time, Tom?
well, he graduated from one of the top schools in the U.S. there, undergraduate degree.
So, well, when he was going through that with you, how old was he? Like when he was?
He was probably 22.
Right.
23.
I mean, at 22, 23 years of age, it would never enter your mind that somebody's dad is doing this to a 22 and 23-year-old.
Yeah, well, I didn't really even know the reason in Salzburg, because like Gene Riley, he called the coach in one of the Div 1 schools, and he just got the idea you don't want this kid on your team. I never got explained to me why. I found out from the Finnish, because what happened in Finland, that his dad was calling the coaches all the time where he should be playing and who should be playing with who, and and that's the last thing they wanted.
Yeah,
so I guess the point is that no matter what level.
Yeah, 100% no matter what level, right? I mean, that's a shame. I had the same thing at prep school when coaches were recruiting our players. Rarely did they ask you, you're a coach, you're going to recruit, you're a scout. You're not going to ask me if the kid can play. Because if you have to ask me that, then you probably shouldn't be doing your job. So the other questions are, what kind of kid is he with his teammates? And then the other question that I began towards the end there in the mid 2010s to 2015s was, tell me about the parents. How are the parents to deal with? Like, that was their concern. That was their concern. And you're going to be honest, right? As a coach, because it's your job, your credibility. So you're going to just say the way that it is. But
I've read that some coaches, really well-known coaches, in their home visit, they really watch how the kid talks to their parent.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
And they're respectful and all this kind of stuff, because that's kind of an indication how they're going to be when you're dealing with them.
Yes, for sure.
And I think sometimes it's the forgotten thing. Like I get on my page here, I get stuff from these guys that want to counsel kids about playing junior and this, that, and the other thing all the time, eh?
Right.
You guys want me to post basically ads for them, and not a whole lot about character building and how what kind of a person that other teams. I mean, you're living with someone for college. You're living with them all year, and you coach in minor hockey's
6, 7, 8 months. You don't want some guy that's going to be like my last year at SAIT. I had a girl that destroyed the team, and the athletic director wouldn't let me get rid of her. And at the exit meetings, every single player said it was fun, except so-and-so was ruining our dressing room all the time.
Yeah, no, I agree with that 100%. I mean, you're with those kids all the time, like a university. You're with those kids all the time. I don't want to go to work every day with someone that's not on the same page when it comes to what we're doing. Doesn't mean you got to go out and have dinner with them every night and hang out with them in the dorms. But once we enter that rink, we're either a team or we're not. And if we're not, and it's because of a certain individual's behavior, that individual can't remain.
Yeah. And that's why you have the team covenant and all that, and they got to stick to it. You know, like it's got to be the guiding for the year. And same thing with the one thing that Wally does, that the parents sign off on something that, you know, so you have something to refer to if there's problems happening.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we have that here. We have the coaches have a code of conduct they have to sign. The parents have a code of conduct that they have to sign. And, you know, very often during the season, at some point, you're politely reminding both groups that they actually did sign that.
Yeah.
Peter, Tom, when is the last time you've had to recruit and interview players with parents? Or have you?
Well, coaching college sometime the parents were around. Most of the time it was because I didn't have the budget to travel. I didn't have the budget to travel here, there, and everywhere because it was all over Western Canada that I basically got my players from. So it was mostly just dealing with the player and talking to their coach, what kind of player they are. But sometimes coaches want to be able to advertise that, yeah, these players are playing college from my team. So they might be the biggest idiot in the world, but that coach won't tell you because they want to say, yeah, so many players graduated from my midget team and they're now playing college in the girls or junior for the boys. So, most coaches are honest, but they're not all honest.
Right. I agree with that. And for me, Wally, most of the time it was just the individual player. I mean, there were some conversations with parents on the phone because I would always tell the kids, your parents pick up the phone, tell your parents to call if they have questions for me because I'm an open book. I said, if it's about how much playing time your kid's going to get, are they going to be on the power play? Then I don't want your parents to call me. But if they want to know about the school, they want to know about my philosophy, they want to know what our culture is on our team, happy to talk to you. And also some would travel with the kids if they were, so if they were close enough, they would come. If they were very far away, they would come. And if they were within 3 hours, they usually wouldn't come.
Yeah. And even the kids aren't always truthful to you.
No, for sure.
My last year, I recruited this. She was going to be a star goalie. I saw, that was during COVID. I saw videos playing in their small area, and she's stoning Bantam AAA boys, some who had been drafted, and she comes and plays, and she has a baby at the end of September. There wasn't a lot of truth being said there. So
yeah. The other thing too is, and I don't know where this comes from, maybe it's the coaches, maybe it's the parents. When you come to visit and you badmouth your current coach to me,
yeah,
the interview is pretty much over at that point.
yeah. Well, that's how Bob Murdoch told me. That's how he ended up being assistant with the Flames after his playing career, because he said a lot of guys that got interviewed, ex-players, and they were bad mouthing the other coach. And he said that he got hired, and then he said, you're the only guy that we talked to that didn't bad mouth, the coach, and that impressed us.
Yeah. It's a simple thing. I mean, at the end of the day, you don't make yourself look good by trying to make somebody else look bad.
Yeah.
Tom, are you saying Murdoch was talking to an NHL player?
No, Murdoch, after he finished playing, he wanted to be assistant coach of the Flames.
Yeah.
And he interviewed, and that's what he got told after. But, we were impressed that you didn't badmouth the previous coach. I don't know who chose it. Maybe it was Bob Johnson chose him. I don't know. In the 80s there. Who just joined us?
Hey guys, sorry, Dominic Pittus. Sorry, it's been a while. I saw Wally call me this morning, and I was in the middle of a team workout. Hold on, let me turn my camera on for you guys here. I was in the middle of a team workout, and then decided to see if you guys were here, and sure enough, you are. So,
Really good to see you.
Yeah, see you guys. Well, Peter, I don't think we've met. I'm sure we've maybe crossed paths. Maybe you can tell me a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Well, I'm in the States. I'm in a little state called Connecticut, part of New England. And my history is coaching wise, prep school in the States for for 12, at least 12 plus years. ACHA hockey, which is the club hockey, for 7 years. And just recently retired. I say recently, it's been 3 years now. Time flies. I was an NCAA hockey coach in Connecticut, and now I do color commentary for that team with the broadcasts.
Oh, great! Yeah, I'm in the States as well. I give you a little bit of my background. I played for a bit, half in North America and some in half in Switzerland for a while, and then got into coaching with one of my former coaches in the Flames organization for a while, and then moved down to Stockton, California with their farm team in American League, and then ended up taking over a prep school program in Stockton, St. Mary's, and so yeah, I've just been trying to make ends meet. Started a girls program. I have 3 girls that play, and that was part of it, was to be able to start a program. And so we've got a girls program and a boys program, and we play. We've played some events in the CSSHL in Canada, up in Canada, and then we do play some in the States. We've been to the NAHA tournament with the girls, mostly with the girls. We'll go in the States. NAHA with the girls. We went to the Rock City in Rochester, and we've had a couple girls graduate. One's playing at RIT, and the other one's playing at Nazareth. So we're just
so one of the girls is playing at Naz.
Yeah, my daughter.
Oh, so that's awesome. So we have a mutual. Well, I'm not sure if he's a mutual friend of yours yet, because he's a head coach there, Chris Baudo.
Oh yeah, I've got a lot of time for him.
Chris and I coached at the gunnery school together for 12 years.
Wait, and so that was in Connecticut that you guys coached together? Yeah. No, she's there. She's a freshman there this year, and she made the dean's list. She's in nursing in Nazareth, and she made the dean's list in nursing. And their team, they've got a really competitive team, and he does a great job. I'm able to watch his practices on Live Barn, so I'm always I'm able to. He does a good job there, and his emotional intelligence is so high. And I think it has to be if you're going to be coaching girls collegiately, any level anyways. But yeah, he's my daughter. He was one of the main reasons why she chose to go there, just because of it's small sample size, but she had a good feeling of his personality and that. So
yeah, he's a good human for sure. What years were you in Stockton?
So I was there. So when the first year it was there, so it would have been 2015, maybe 2015 to right after the pandemic. So 2020. I think 2020, 2021 was my last year. There with I had Ryan Huska was my head coach, and then Cale McLean was my head coach there. They're both up with Calgary now. But yeah, we had some pretty good teams there. They had like Rasmus Anderson and Manjapani were playing as rookies. They were good. They were really good as rookies, actually. They were solid. Dylan Dubé, I mean, he's kind of whatever's happened with him, but yeah, there were some good players there.
Yeah, well, I had a boy that I coached at Pee Wee's who he played at Stockton, but it was like 09 and 10. So it was,
yeah, I would have been there. Or no,
You-
09, 10. Oh, sorry, that was the East Coast League. Yeah, sorry.
yeah,
Yeah.
he played there. He played there back then.
Yeah. That, and I mean, I think that they took the success that the East Coast League team was having from an attendance standpoint, because they were selling the rink out. There was like they had averaged 5,000-6,000, and they thought they were going to parlay that with the American League team without having to do any of the work as far as continuing the customer, relations, and that didn't work out so well. They obviously moved him back to Calgary. So
Sure.
sorry, guys.
Well, it's good. It's a small world. I'm gonna definitely text Chris later and tell him that we met.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
Dom,
If you got a hard time, let me know. I got some stories I can tell you.
Dom, I got to ask you, just for the people that might be listening, you made the point of that coach's emotional intelligence and the
Mhm.
importance of it in female hockey.
Mhm.
I'm gathering it's important in male hockey, but not as popular or not as common. Can you talk to that, the emotional intelligence side of coaching and female hockey, and how it could be more beneficial to all coaches?
Yeah. Well, I think it's. I mean, I think it's. I think even on the men's side, it's super important as well. I mentioned Cale McLean was one of the guys that I worked under in Stockton, and now he's in Calgary. And he has very, very high emotional intelligence. And again, emotional intelligence to me just means that he's very aware of the people that are around, and trying to include all of them, and trying to make sure that they're heard, and that they've that they have some say. I mean, obviously he's the boss and everything else, but I feel that he was very, very thoughtful in everything that he did. And I don't think I think to be at that level, you have to have a lot of thought in what it is. But his consideration was, how it would affect the group, and how it would, any painstaking measures to be able to get to that. But he was very successful, and we had a very good culture because of that. I think Chris in Nazareth, I know, talking with my daughter, they'll have the girls will go to him and say, you can't say that to us. You can't talk to us that way. And then he'll be like, yeah, no, you're right. And then he'll adjust. So there, I always think, this is nothing new. I think coaching is very much a partnership, and it's become more so that, it's not hard. You just look at any NHL timeout for the most part, and the players have a huge, and they're the top players. They have a huge say a lot of times in what's going on. Like, you can see there's a very much an interaction, and that's going on between the coach. But yeah, I would say that for me, and again, I coach both the boys and the girls. It's very, very different in the way that they learn, and in the way that they, that you communicate with them. But I still think the common underlying theme is that there has to be, there has to be that give and take, and that for them to be able to feel that they can give some input as to what is ultimately going on. But looks very different. I will concede that it looks very, very different from the boys to the girls and the way you do that. But
Tom, the term emotional intelligence, what are your thoughts on that relative to coaching?
yeah, I think I don't think you'll last very long if you don't have it. I think like I mean I think it's just having an awareness of the people around you and how they contribute to what you're doing, and being able to include everybody and to have a sense. Again, it's very I mean it's I mean, you guys all know, you guys coach for a lot longer than I have. It's very difficult to be able to try to get to meld multiple personalities together. But I think that's, you know, that to me is the hardest part, is trying to get the best out of everyone, try to get their best. So I think to be able to understand that, you know, the fine line between being able to be a leader and to be able to have a direction, but to be able to have the input of everyone to be able to go the right way is, you know, is to me what most intelligence is. Maybe it's, yeah, that's what I think it is.
Well, the two words that come to my mind, Dom, and your daughter, and where she's chosen to go, and the relationship and with the coach, the two words that are essential to emotional intelligence are trust and respect. And it sounds like that's happening for your daughter, and she's playing, and you're a hockey knowledgeable guy. And so the choice that's made and the idea of appreciating that, you value it and understand its importance. And I'm sure your daughter grew up valuing that more than anything.
Mm.
Because you've seen it all relative to different coaches, mentoring at the community level out there in Stockton, and looking at different people whose egos were off the wall and they were demanding, and it was my way or the highway. I don't know if that's a problem anymore, but I certainly don't see it in our association. The coaching staffs I watch are unbelievable. There's a great relationship with players. Trust and respect is evident in my mind, but that's what I sort of hear from talking to you.
Yeah.
Somebody's got some background noise there. Who is it?
Oh, that's probably me. My apologies. I'm in the athletic office, and I've got so
That's in your office.
my apologies. Yeah. Well, yeah. Hold on. Let me close the door here. Hold on.
It's no big deal. Yeah.
Great to have Dom on again. He was on a heck of a lot a few years ago when he was coaching with the Flames and assisting, and then he moved down to Stockton. And I worked with him in minor hockey a lot, but we grew up knowing each other. So welcome back, Dom. How is your overall program going? Are you still head coaching guys and girls?
Unfortunately, I am. Yeah. Yeah. It's you know, and I have more help. I think, you know, as our program grows, the problems change, right? I think initially we were looking for, you know, we're just looking for numbers, and trying to promote what makes us different from, you know, from club hockey. And so, you know, now this year on the boys, we've got 21 boys. We've got 15 girls that go to the school. And so the way the rostering works down here is a little bit different. We're able to double roster. We're considered, on the girls' side, considered high school girls. You can be rostered on a tier team, and you can be rostered on a high school team. So, you know, we're able to fill in some of our gaps with some of the local tier players, which we eventually hope will come to our program. On the boys' side, we're pure. We've everybody that's on the team goes to the school, and that to me is what separates us from the other club hockey. And it's very, very new here in California in regards to the type of program that we're trying to have. There's a couple. They're actually the guys from that used to run NAX up in Edmonton is now running a program down in Southern California, and trying the same. And so obviously California is an expensive state, and the biggest issue is ice and trying to get ice. So we don't have that problem here in Stockton. I think part of our challenge is a little bit reputation, to be just perfectly honest with you. If you Google Stockton and you look it up, it's it's not a great reputation for the city of Stockton, which is having been here now, worked here since 2015, almost 10 years. It's living in California. Like there's pockets, there's good pockets, and there's not so desirable pockets. And so you just have to kind of know where to manage. And that's holds true for the whole state, not just the small area that we're in. So, as I say, problems change as you start to grow. And, the problems now is trying to find, for me, is really trying to hone in on our program ourselves. When you called me, Wally, we work out 4 days a week before school, and trying to work with the school to be able to get the first period as our ice time, because right now we practice right after school, which is great, which is much better than the club teams that practice at 9 or 10 o'clock at night. So that's one of the advantages. But it's trying to get the right people that are involved, like from the people. And again, the challenge that I have, to be honest, is like why are you coming here? Why are you coming here to our program? If you're coming here just for the hockey, it's not. Yeah, I suggest that you don't. For me, it's the holistic approach to the school, the hockey, what enables you to be able to come to 7 a.m. workouts, right? You just can't. You're like, oh yeah, I'm going to go to 7 a.m. workouts. I'm going to go to bed at midnight. It doesn't work out that way. And so, but you have to have a certain amount of commitment and a certain desire to be able to want to do that. I think, unfortunately, there's some parents that just look at the hockey side and not so much don't support on the educational side. And I mean that's a little bit of the challenge. But those challenges are better to have than just trying to fill a roster like we were last year, even the year before. So
how much is the school and the academic standards and the philosophy helping you with your athletes? Because it sounds like that's a key factor of how you're operating.
Yeah. And I'll be honest, it weeds out the kids pretty quick, to be honest. I think unfortunately we've had a couple of our better players that weren't able to meet the academic standards, and it made themselves ineligible. The school has been very, very supportive in trying to help them along academically. And, if at the end of the day, if the student doesn't choose to put in the time, if the parents don't support that, then it's going to be very, very difficult for there to be any type of accountability on the school side. And so for me, the girls and boys that have the parent support, I mean, I guess that goes with anything, but the parent support and finding value in the school piece and making sure that they do the things necessary to give them the best chance to succeed. Again, that's the type of program that we want to have, and we're it's to answer your question, it's been very, very helpful to be able to have that academic standard, that that accountability, because to be able to practice at 7 a.m, be able to get the work that they're giving you, and to be able to kind of rinse and repeat that, be on the ice 5 days a week, there has to be a certain amount of discipline. And I say this to the kids from the beginning. I'm like, it needs to be a choice. It can't be a sacrifice. If you feel that it's going to be a sacrifice to come here and there's other things that you're missing out on, it's probably not the program for you. You have to choose to want to have these development opportunities to then be able to how that works for you. So that's as I say, like, we've finally gotten to the point where we've gotten the critical mass where we have the numbers where now it's like people will call and if their first question isn't about the school, then it's a longer conversation on how that it's a big part of being a part of our program. And I see the two girls that have graduated. As I say, my daughter has done extremely well because of the standard that she had to hold up to, and the amount of time management that she had to figure out as far as her years here. The other girl is going at RIT. She's doing really well as like hockey wise, and I'm not sure on her school, but she was a 4.0 grade here, so I don't anticipate it being any different. But it's really prepared them for that. As I say, it's unfortunate that some don't see the value of the school side of it, but it directly relates of, if they're going to be able to handle the academic and the athletic vigor that is going to be in college. So I've been pretty pleased so far, but as I say, it's unfortunate a couple of them just haven't been able to.
Peter, I'm going to let you ask your question or bring it with your hand up, but down the road, Dom, I'd love to have your daughter's head coach and you on to talk about what we've talked about relative to recruitment, just for the sake of parent understanding and appreciation and young players. It was unbelievable, but down the road, Peter might be able to be involved in that and get involved, knowing now that we know that you guys know each other. But Peter, go ahead, your hands up.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that we didn't gloss over a great point that Dominic made about players making a choice versus considering it a sacrifice. You get to play the greatest game there is out there, in my opinion. And if you think that you have to sacrifice to play it, then I think you're looking at it wrong. 100% to his point about, like, you made a choice. Like, you get to do something great, and you're choosing to do things that will make you better and give you a better experience. I don't see how that's a sacrifice. I think choice is exactly the perfect word to use for that. So I didn't want that to be glossed over, because I think that's a huge point.
Dom, I'm trying to interpret that. Like, I'm thinking of myself. Sacrifice was never something I felt. I never gave up anything. I just went and did it. It was great. And
yeah,
the idea of sacrificing is sort of the reason for what you choose to do. What do you want to do it? Why do you want to do it? So you got to know where you're going and your direction, your sense of perspective. And I don't know if you've had that picture on your wall behind you very long, but I did take note of it. But can you read that to us again, Dom?
Yeah, a coach will impact more young people in a year than the average person does in a lifetime. It was actually a gift. It was a gift from one of the players last year. One of the parents and they had grabbed a bunch of pictures of my kids, myself and my wife and the team, and yeah, it's a phenomenal gift. But yeah, it's the message. I think we all are probably doing what we do because we, at some way, shape, or form, believe in what that message is.
Well, Dom, I've got to tell you the story. You might be aware of this, but years ago, Tom and I are mentoring in Cochrane. I'm working for P3 Sports out there, and you've been out there, and you know the setup. But I went to a bit of a banquet with it was a wrestling banquet because they have a great wrestling program in Cochrane at the arena where they have all the equipment. And I used to take the U12 athletes down there and their parents and participate with the wrestling coaches. But when I went to the banquet, it was a fundraiser. And there was a wood carving with that, the quote you have on your back wall. I outbid everybody for it. It went up to $150, but it was worth it. And it's hanging in the office with Ryan Hilderman at P3 Sports. And as you know, the middle P of three, the three P's is perspective. And really, that's sort of what we're talking about here is, you asked Tom, what are you doing what you're doing? Why are you doing it?
Well, you mean the coaching?
Yourself, yeah, you're still coaching.
I enjoy doing it, and it's really nice to work with my son. And and I think, like you say, you can impact a lot of people. Like right now, I posted a few things from midget AAA team, and I'm watching, and it was one of the first midget AAA teams I coached. And I'm looking here, and I think 6 or 7 of these girls got scholarships, either to Canadian universities, Div 3, and I think one went Div 1 in NCAA, just on this one team. So you can help people out quite a bit, and I think the two of us, and we have a lot to offer because being in it a long time, taking the time to learn stuff, and that's why I do it.
I think it's a perfect time to bring up John Wooden's point. I think it was after his 15th national championship. And they caught him outside the room, and the press said, "What do you think of your team? What they've accomplished?" And his answer was, "Ask me in 25 years."
Oh, exactly. I just got a neat text from Cassie. Cassie Campbell helps me coach. And they had the AAAs had I'm coaching the U15s.
Yeah.
The U18 coach had my players practice after our practice on Tuesday. So her daughter scored a goal, and she took a little video of it. And she said she scored at U18 AAA practice, and we also worked on angling and whatever. She said she loved it. Told me she got a lot of confidence from it and needs to bring that to our team. Like her daughter just decided she wanted to be a player. I coached her in U13, and she whatever. And when she didn't make our team last year, she asked her parents to put her in skating and stuff and that in the morning. And she's really, really improved. And now she wants to do what she needs to do to become a player. And I think that's what we want, right, Dom?
Yeah. It's as I say, it's the switch, and it's funny with girls. And again, I just from my personal experience, it seems to switch at around one way or the other, like 13, 14, 15, around that age.
Yeah.
Where they either like they go all in, or they're like, I'm not really interested in. Yeah, I mean, it's as you say, it comes down to like what Peter had pointed out. It's like I choose to be able to do this. Like, this is the greatest game in the world, like he said, and I get this opportunity, and I get all these opportunities to make myself better. Like that's ultimately it, right? And that's the ones that get better. And I think I like I say that at my opening like barbecue type thing, and it's more so like for parents to be able to understand, like if you're having to tell your kid, oh, you have to do this, you have to go to this morning workout, you have to this, that's, and everything else, then you've got to ask yourself, like, are they like, who's it for, right?
Yeah.
And so that's, and again, like you gotta, like, I've had to have some hard conversations with some parents when they come into my office after their senior year, and they're like, well, we want to put them to, they give me a list of all these D1 schools on the boys side, and they're just like, we want to go, like, can you call these teams for me? And I'm like, okay, wait, time out. Like your son doesn't do any extra when there's the option of because there's always times when you've during exam week or when there's down weeks, you like optional practices, he never comes to them, right? There's again, like you have to ask yourself, who is this for? Like, who is the one that's motivated to put in the work, right? So I'm sure it's prevalent, whether it's either side of the border. It's like the parents
And
sometimes.
you got to watch who you recommend too.
Well,
Because if
yeah,
you're
well,
just telling
yeah,
everybody all
Yeah.
because we have that right now. There's about going to a sports school and our probably least committed player.
yeah,
And we're really having trouble saying yeah, because like I think maybe she's playing for other people, not for herself. You know what I mean?
yeah.
It doesn't take
No,
much to miss practice and games and
no, but and I guess from my side with the program that we're running here, I want to know, like, if you can get through the program and you can make the commitment to be able to be at the early morning practices, and you're like, we've got shooting areas, and you're constantly asking me to do things and do extra, I'll have no problem putting you anywhere. I'll call anybody, right? Like but
yeah.
if it's twisting your arm and there's always an excuse to, well, I've got this and I can't and this and that, like I'm not going to recommend you. I'm not going to suggest that, and because there's I've got a couple girls that are very like from a skill perspective, from an on ice ability. Yeah, like I've had coaches ask me about it, but I have a really hard time saying, yeah, this is a person that's going to get better, because I know she's not doing the things to get better under me. So why all of a sudden is now she's going to be away from her parents in a situation where I don't know that, and so I just say I question her commitment. I'm just honest. I question her commitment, and I
have a
I
thought.
feel bad, but
Well, my thought is, no matter what, you vote with your feet. You can
yeah,
say the right thing, right?
yeah,
But do you show up?
yeah,
And
yeah. No,
you know,
actions, right?
and
Yeah, absolutely.
if they don't, I mean, you can say everybody knows what to say in a certain situation.
Yeah, and that's funny you say that, because I've had some conversations with some of the kids in regards to, because you're right, everybody knows what to say. They're so conditioned, right? They come in and they're apologizing, they have exactly the right things to say. And I just stop them. I said, show me. Show me, right? Show me by, well, what do you mean show me? Yeah, show me that you're on time. Show me that you're early on time. Show me with your actions that you're committed. Don't tell me how committed you are. Don't tell me how much you want to do it. Show me what you show, because I promise you, when you go somewhere, like I was telling Sophia with Chris's team, they had 30 girls when they went there this year, and she was worried she wasn't going to play. She was concerned she wasn't going to play. And so I just said, every day you show up, you do the right things. And I said, you don't be worried about what anybody else does. You show up on time, you show up ahead of time, you do the extra, you do it for yourself. And I said, he'll take note. A good coach will note the small things that you're doing, right? Like he has, and he's smart. He's very, very smart. He's done it a long time. He'll have optional meetings with the coach. Optional. It's your option. You can come if you want. And he said, some girls don't come. And because they're probably afraid of what is going to be said, right? But I said to her, I said, it's very, very smart, because if they're afraid that he's going to be truthful with them as why they're not playing, if you're not able to hear why you're not playing, then you can't argue why you're not playing. And so, I think that there's something to that in regards to what you do some of the time is what you do all the time. I mean, it's very cliche and it's been said a lot, but I think it holds so true with being able to prepare girls for our boys or whatever, for hockey, just for setting up with the best chance of success. Because ultimately, how many are going to go on? Who knows, right? I don't know what the extra they're doing. I don't know what, if they're watching video. Like I don't know that, right? But yeah, show with your actions. I think that's, to me, that's the simplest thing you can do, right?
Yeah.
Dom, I'm listening to you. It's amazing because we have an elite hockey program, girls hockey Calgary, starting at U13. And I'm not sure many of them are elite in terms of showing you and doing the right things all the time in a unquestionable, consistent fashion. And like you said, some of them may not from U13 even want to play more because they've learned this year the commitment and the sacrifice in their lives is something. It's very hard to do anything else. But so my concern, and Tom's, I'm sure, as a teacher in high school and junior high, it's just coaching in sports in general, not whether they made a team or not and went up the next level. A lot did, you know. That wasn't my reason for coaching. In a high school setting in particular, tied in with the education, I'm more concerned with what they do when they leave school and they're learning their lives. And my story, which isn't about elite athletes, and I've had Olympic wrestlers that I've coached in junior high, but this was a wrestler that, a story that's worth telling because of the perspective of sport. In a high school I was working in, I constantly recruited kids for wrestling. And I used to patrol the hallways for the kids that were like under 125 pounds, under 100 pounds, because those low weight categories, you could get more competition and win more medals and be more competitive. And I badgered this one kid for a year, all year. And finally he came out and he put in his 2-3 years, whatever it was. And I never thought anything of it. I don't know where he went or what he did with his life. He never won a championship or got an accolade or anything. But I love one-on-one coaching because you don't put in the effort, you're on your back. You got to learn about yourself and your courage. You got to master some biomechanical, physiological, fitness kind of things. So he worked hard at it. And it's 15 years later, I'm in Montreal coaching the women's oval team, playing an exhibition game against the Montreal team. I get a phone call. I'm at my hotel. It's this guy calling, Mr. Kozak. I see your team's in town. Can I come and meet you after the game? And I said, sure. Well, what are you doing here? He says, well, I'm doing the sound for the Montreal Forum. I handle the sound system here. And I said, well, look, I'll be love to see you after the game. So the game's over. I come out and meet this guy who was like a 90-pound kid. And I think the highest weight class he wrestled at was 135 before he left school. Now he's about 6'1" and big and looking normal. And he thanked me for badgering him to come out wrestling and said, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for that. And he recognized that all the time he put in at doing something to discover, what his level of competition was going to be and how hard he'd work, that's more rewarding than a kid that makes the NHL. Because he came up how many years after and said, thank you, which, you've experienced. And I look at the sign on your wall, it's a tribute to doing things the right way for the right reason. And it's not that we don't want them to achieve their goals, but to do it. It's their choice. If they choose to do the right things to the degree they need to, they'll accomplish their goals. It's really important. So I'm so glad you got on, Dom. Anything to
Yeah.
add, Peter? Tom?
Well, I think one of the things, and you quoted John Wooden a little bit ago. Nick Saban, right, who made his career at Alabama. One of the things that he had mentioned that has stuck with me, and honestly trying to now pass that on to my grandson a little bit, is there's a difference between spending your time and investing your time when you're an athlete. And it's kind of fun now to kind of play that little game with my grandson. I'll say, give me a situation where you're investing your time. And he'll say, well, I did push-ups today. And I said, okay, why is that investing your time? Because he's just starting to play hockey. He's 7. So he said, because that'll make me stronger. It'll make my shot better too. I said, okay, give me an idea about spending your time. Well, like when I'm on my screens. So he's already understanding the difference. And I think that's something that collegiately, I'm hoping moving forward, some of these guys that are playing and girls that are playing now will understand. But once you understand the difference between spending your time, yeah, I practice every single day. Well, do you just go to practice and go through the motions? Or do you invest your time and try to work on a skill that you know you need to get better? So that point that he made, I just love that. I just think it's a good forum to bring that up and to mention that, because once you can get players bought into investing their time versus spending their time, I think you could end up with something pretty special.
It's a good one.
Peter, I want to make a point. Thomas Pacina brought this up. It totally relates to what you've said. He calls it extreme focus. Investment of time and the effort you put in requires you to be dialed in. It's pretty hard to dial in for a practice. So he had a small group of professional players he was working with. He had the drill he was going to do, and he would have them sit on the bench, talk about the drill and what its purpose was, and visualize themselves doing it and why they were doing it, and then go out and do the drill. And he felt that sacrificing 1 or 2 of his drills during his hour plan was more valuable. You doing that exercise before you went out and did a drill, you just sort of push through. They need a reminder once in a while to, hey, let's dial in here. Let's close our eyes. Let's think about what we're doing, how we're doing it, what we can do better. Let's get more committed to focusing on the effort and the technique we want. I've tried it once with a skills group, and it was like night and day. And this was with a group of major junior 6 kids that were good players who were working on a competitive scoring, outnumbered drill. And, they were doing okay, but then I brought them to the bench and we just talked about the drill and all the elements within it and how they could execute better, and to think about that and put their minds to the exercise, and away they went, and it was like night and day. And it's not that it lasts forever, but it's just educating the importance of listening, focusing, self-awareness, and application.
Right. Well, I think like the last several minutes here that we've been talking, I think really what we're talking about, and this is kind of one of the fun things about coaching, right? Because, we're not talking about, hey, this is what I do on the power play, or this is how I make a penalty kill. We're talking about the basic root of success is your ability to manage people. Your ability to manage people, that's what makes you a successful coach. That's this all comes down to, what we're talking about, right? You can go on and you can find the best power play in the world, and you can create little robots if you want, but your ability to manage people that will understand everything you're talking about, like the sign that Dom has up there, like the players have to understand that as well, right? That they're part of something special. They have to understand, like I say, that difference between investing your time and spending your time, the choice, right? Versus sacrifice. Once you can teach that, and I think everybody here can do that because, you've all got the pedigrees, right? Because in history of having done that, that's one of the best things we can pass on to anybody listening who are coaches is, I'd much rather get caught up in this, what we're talking about, than what power play or penalty kill, because that's, for me, right? I think everybody here, that's not hard. It's not hard to figure out how to play, straight lines on a penalty kill, don't turn your back, when to go, when not to go. All that stuff is fairly rudimentary, but this is really what becomes a success or not success for a player and or a coach. I mean, that's just kind of my 2 cents.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree. I've had coaches that were organized to, like, every detail was down, and the but the culture of the team wasn't great, and but it wasn't a case of them not having everybody understanding what they needed to do in regards to, whether it's, like you say, power play or penalty kill or forecheck or neutrals or whatever it is. And the ability to be able to have, as you said, to manage people, the ability to be able to have, and they say it's buy-in, and so in a sense it is, but yeah, just to have, but it needs to be like the collective of everybody, like, and that was the thing, like these organizations and like the teams, like you've got, trainer, like everybody from the strength coach to the equipment guy, everybody has to be kind of pushing and pulling in the same way. And I can think about the Flames, like their strength coaches. I'm good buddied with the strength coach in Calgary. I lived with him during COVID when they brought the farm team up there. This guy is off the charts. And again, like there was guys that in his position prior that were they had their masters in kinesiology, like they had like an unbelievable wealth of knowledge in regards to the physiology of the body. But as far as being able to create the environment in the gym and be able to have the players wanting to be there, it was, there was guys that wanted to fight some of the guys that were there prior, right? And again, but it was such a key component of what we're talking about, the relationship. So, I think, again, from afar watching, and I've talked to some guys a little bit with the Flames, but the fact that the guy that I work with, Kale, and the strength coach that are there, like these guys are really, really aware of their surroundings and aware of how they treat people. And it's not surprising that they've had some success, because I think that they're huge components of that. What makes a successful organization or a successful team is that piece, like you're talking about, not just, yes, the other X and O's, if you will. So
I just Googled the word invest, and it's all about for a definition. But I think the definitions I've Googled aren't adequate to describe what we're saying and what that word means. But it's so true. Like, you do what you do, you take it seriously. Like all of us, we love the game. We're invested in the good of the game. And it consumes our lives in a good way. And like Dom, you brought up the strength coach. Here's a guy in an organization who's committed. He gets it. He does what elite athletes have to appreciate. He walks the talk. So it's so important for coaches, trainers, staff, your organization to be invested in the purpose of what you're all doing together. And the bottom line in a sport is getting the athletes to dial in better, perform a little better, get to the next level, and taking moments to play with their level of concentration out of practice. I think it's a worthwhile thing to try. So, Dom, you got ice time, I'm sure, in the next 2 days, and think about it in one of your drills. Waste a drill for the sake of another drill that you want to see how much they get out of it. Compromise your overall plan for the idea of coaching, effort, focus, and better performance. So just an idea. Dom, I'm so glad you could get on. How are you for next week, Dom? Because I'd sure love to get Peter to call that head coach and see if we can make a connection and create a formal.
Yeah, I'd love to. I mean, I'd love to. What day are you thinking, Wally?
So, Peter, would you be able to get a hold of him, or should I have Dom get a hold of him, or me if you want to give me his contact info?
Oh, I got more ammunition than either one of you, so.
That's true. Yeah.
I'm more than happy to do it if I'm sure Dom will attest, Chris is a pretty organized guy, right? So pretty structured. So if you give me an idea of what the options are, then, time wise and day wise, I mean, obviously day wise Thursdays, I guess, but, time wise, I can see where his schedule's at because, the simple matter of things like, don't know if there'll be a recruit on campus, those kinds of things. So if I know, what the time frame is, I can relate that to him and see if we can't make that happen.
Okay, well, you know our time frame. Dom, you had meetings. We can go later anytime in this situation.
Yes. So you're typically at what 8:30 Calgary time on Thursday? Is that when you and so that's so we have workout in the morning until 8 o'clock here. So that'd be 9 o'clock. 9 o'clock Mountain Time. So I'd be available around the same time that I came in here today. So
what time did you pop on? I wasn't paying attention.
I think probably like around 9:15, I think, probably, or 9, or what time is it? Is it or 8:50? I guess it would be 9:15 your time, I would think, right?
So are you Mountain
How
Time
about
you're an hour behind me? Or are you 3 hours?
Yeah.
You're 3 hours, right? Because you're
I'm in California. Yep. I'm in California.
Okay.
What time are you, Peter?
What is there right now? Dom, what
I'm
time?
10:30 right now.
Yeah, 9:30. I'm 9:30 right now.
So you're 9:30. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we see if he can go for 9 o'clock next week, and we can talk until Dom joins us. But I'm pretty good at asking questions to get people to express themselves and their areas of expertise. It's amazing, Dom, having you on and what you've done 10 years in the program and how it's growing and how it's evolved and what you brought it to is just amazing. But this takes it to another level when your daughter, playing for a coach you respect and she respects, are working together. And I think it's only going to help the game because it seems like we're doing things for the same reason, the right reason, with the same goals in mind. And it's not just winning the game or the championship, or it's being the best you can be and getting something out of the experience. You're working with student athletes, you guys. They're all students and they're all athletes. They're not pros. And the girls now have a chance to play pro. So, Dom, you know that zoo. It's it's a little different, and coaches have to deal with egos now on the female side more than before, but it's all connected. Sports is the same, and I don't think people understand the value of it and what it can do for people. So Anyway, I'm just about out of time here. Dom, thank you for calling back. So good to
Yeah.
meet you. We'll see what we can cook up for next Thursday, Peter.
Okay.
Yeah, I will
Yeah.
do. Good to meet you. Pleasure.
Yeah. Great to meet you as well,
It was
Peter.
great
I'm happy
seeing you,
to-
Dom.
happy I came on. Yeah, good seeing you, Tom. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm heading
Thanks,
out,
fellas.
so have a good practice, Tom.
Yeah, well,